Hello and welcome back to episode 22 of the Hooked On NRL SuperCoach podcast. I'm your host Sol and I'm joined by my co-host Fish. How are you, Fish?
Good, mate. Good. The Tigers, we got a win, baby. Up the tick. So, yeah, repping
Yeah.
the jersey today after we'll get into it later, but I changed the tips to the Tigers. I just had some feeling that came over me and it hit the Tigers. Tigers for the eight, I say, mate. How
Yeah,
good.
awesome, mate. Yeah, very well done there. Yeah, good to see the Tigers get a win. Couple upsets on the weekend, actually. I think it was the
Mm.
Tigers and then who was the
The
there's
Broncos, the
another one.
first game.
Yeah, the Broncos beating the Dogs and a huge
No,
comeback.
strong.
So yeah, it was good to
Shout out
see a
to Eddie B
couple.
with Ezra Mann, my boy. The shout out.
Yeah.
He's done well for you, Eddie. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you doing well with Ezra.
Yeah.
But before we get, I know, let's just get stuck straight into it, hey?
Yeah, let's just get straight into it. Let's smash out this week's podcast.
That's it, mate. That's it. All right, I'll kick us off for the week that was. So I had a good week, ladies and gentlemen. We had a good
You
week.
did.
The buy round planner has come to fruition. So that's moved us up into now 23rd in the league. So I think it was 30 something last week. So we're up 10 spots in the league and I moved 1,500 overall. So I'm now sitting just outside the top 3K with a
Awesome.
solid 1097 last week. So very, very happy with how I went last week, and which we'll get into in 1 second. But pretty much one bloke who scored the highest score of Supercoach all weekend. He got 165. He goes by the name of Nick Meaney. And who thought that Nick Meaney was going to score? I put money on him on a bet. I just had this massive feeling that Nick Meaney was just going to go bananas, and he did. So I actually
Paid off.
I ended up trading him in last week, believe it or not. I believe he was like, I think there was 21 owners in the top 5% or in the top 1% or whatever. There's hardly anyone owned. And after it was after the first game, who played on that Saturday? It was the Raiders. It was the Raiders
Raiders
Dragons. So
Dragons, yeah.
Raiders Dragons happened. LKT stunk it up. Xavier Savage didn't go too good. So I was like, oh, not ideal. I'm going to need to have a bit of a crack here. And Nick Meaney was my guy that I had a crack with. And boy, did Nick Meaney deliver.
Huge score.
165. I think that's the biggest score I've seen this year. Kraz got close for me with a 160,
159 or something, I think.
159. But for me, I think that's it. That's
Uh
the highest.
Pappenhausen 184 against your Tigers.
True. And that was the
Yeah.
week, of course, I didn't captain him. I captained someone else. So I lost about
Mm,
400 points in captaincy there. But
yeah.
as we say, listeners, it doesn't matter. We can just have a round like we did last week and almost halved the rank. So very, very happy with, first of all, pretty much all the trade-ins. If anything, I kind of wish I didn't go Eli Katoa. So my trade-ins last week, just to remind you all, we'll bring it up quickly. It was Smith, Hiroti, and Geimer out. So I was clearing a lot of the dead wood. And I brought in Bradley, Meaney, and Katoa. So in hindsight, I kind of wish I brought in Markey over Katoa just because I don't know, Markey is just so good. And Eli
Yeah.
Katoa is just a bit of a dud this year. Like he scored a try and everything. And look, 68 points. He's a gun, right? Everyone has him. He's 99% owned. So I kind of had
Mm.
to jump on, but he really hasn't kicked on with it. I think there's probably a fair statement. I know he killed it at the start of the year. You brought him. You were massive on him early doors. You thought, yeah, he's going to kill it. That second row, edge of the storm, like money signs really out playing outside Jerome. But just for whatever reason, is it his base that's down? Why do we not see like these scores with tries and everything? He's not tunning up.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit harsh on Eli Katoa. Like he's still in the top second rows for me for sure. But yeah, he's not quite reached the heights that we thought maybe he could have. But he's averaging 74 points still, which is still very solid, and it's a bit of a down year. I can hoping that on the back end of the season we see a bit more from him. It's definitely yeah, definitely a mixture of base and base and like I think we're seeing the attacking stats, but he's just not basing as much. But 74 points, I mean, it is underwhelming because I was huge on him to the point where I thought he could average, up in the 80s with like close to Haas and May sort of likes. Um, but yeah, 74 still for second row, you take it, and yeah, I think you be happy you got him in, and yeah, he's definitely a hold for the year.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've locked him in now, so I'm not too dishappy with it. I just kind of probably wish I went Marky after going nuts on the weekend. But in saying that, it seems that it's a very clear game plan from the Storm to hit him on the fifth tackle kicks, very
Mm.
similar to the Nanai and Lomax sort of sorts. They bomb it to Katoa, they bomb it to Lomax, they bomb it to Nanai for that high ball. So I think those attacking stats will continue to come hopefully throughout for the rest of the season. But yeah, I don't know. All in all, I'm a bit with Eli Qatar, but all in all, for the whole side, yeah, very happy. I did well. So I captained Terrell May. So I potted up with going against Tedesco. He was so heavily captained or vice captained by the masses. I think it was about probably 90% almost effective sort
Mm.
of there. But I vice captained Strange, which obviously Caro Weeks was the bloke that went nuts this week. And then I decided to pot up and go Terrell May, and that benefited me a more couple was at 20, only a
17
24
points.
point. Yeah, not much of a
Mm.
swing, but if
Still
Teddy
take
didn't
it.
get that bloody try in the last
Yeah.
minute, it would have been so much more, and the Green Arrows would have been so much bigger. So that is a little bit of a kicker because a lot of people got out and got saved by that James Tedesco junk try in the
Mm.
79th, 50th minute. So that was annoying. But yeah, look, mate, all in all, very happy with the week. Trades are running super thin now. So I've got 6 trades left for the run home, but pretty happy with the side and just hopefully now just got to fingers crossed to avoid the carnage, mate.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Yeah, like obviously low in trades, but can't fault the play at all. On Nick Meaney, obviously he repaid the dividends for you. Obviously this week now back at centre, and I think it's easier to make those moves. Like I wish I hadn't made so many of those sort of moves early in the season on Alamotti and Cobbo because I would have been more had more trades up my sleeves and been more willing to make a play like Meany or a Weeks, for example. But that's down to my own sort of judgment on trades front. But despite you being low in trades, you still sacked it and went Nick Meany. So props to you on that play, mate. Yeah, solid week from you, and awesome to see the green arrows and up just outside the top 3Ks. Not a bad spot to be at all.
Yeah, mate, that's it. Very happy. And yeah, look, it'll be interesting. We can kind of all see the listeners and myself see how this whole Nick Meaney trade develops because pretty much no one owns him. I don't know if
Mm,
he's being heavily traded in yet this week. I know he's going to have he's going to make a bunch of cash. So, wow, a
mm.
negative 42 break even. He's projected to make 90K. And how much did he make on the weekend? He made 72K on the weekend and yeah, negative 42 break even. So, I think his price is going to go in excess of 600K and he might
Yeah.
become a stepping stone to sort of Lomax. But yeah, with trades running low, it'll be interesting to see how this whole Nick Mini trade develops. But yeah, all in all, very happy, mate. Very happy.
Awesome.
Moving on to you, mate. How did you go last week?
Not well at all, mate. Yeah, as you can see, I'm in eighth now. I think I dropped 2 spots by the looks of it. Yeah, two or 1 spot. I dropped 1 spot in the league down to 587 in rank, which is still a pretty solid spot to be. I'm can't fault it. Like happy with it, but yeah, obviously a really down week, only scoring 922. Um, yeah, not too much went like I can't say it went poorly because I only had 13 men, but going into the round, and obviously Pappenhausen got ruled out, and so did Billy Smith. But obviously they're two highly owned players. But it hurts more for people like me who are just sort of skimming the surface of um, players that they had anyway on that round. So I was forced into 2 trades just to get the cap of 13 players. And those 2 trades were bringing in Caden Bradley and Daniel Tupou. I had the money to go Mark Nonwanui Tawaze, and that's who I was sort of between. But I knew that I needed to make some moves next week. Well, this week now, which is why I wanted to free up as much funds as possible. And I went the pod route in Daniel Tupou. He got 58. It's not too bad. But obviously, I lost about 50 points on that play. VC on Tedesco. I was really hoping there, just like you were, that he didn't score that last try. It would have been really nice because I would have captained either Kaloa Matangi or Garrick in that last game. Probably to be in all fairness, I would have captained Kaloa Matangi over Garrick just because I did tip the bunnies as well. But still, it would have been nice to see, Tedesco, the shit,
Wow.
the masses of Tedesco captains fail a bit. Um, Yeah, other than that, like Tarpany's been quite disappointing with only 46. I held Hubner just for this round. He got 35, and that's part of the reason I went the Tupo trade because I knew that he was a trade out for me next round and this round now. And he is definitely on the chopping block, one of the first to go. And yeah, we'll touch on that a bit later. But yeah, overall, like I'm happy with how the side's shaping up. I feel like I planned pretty well for this one home, and I knew I was going to take a little bit of a hit last week. But yeah, overall 587 in rank. Hopefully can get back on the green arrow train and make my way up from here. But yeah, not too shabby overall. I was actually expecting to drop a bit more places, and I did. Oh, one more thing to touch on is Jerome Hughes, 58. Bit like I thought he was actually going to go nuts in that game against the Cowboys, but obviously with Pappenhausen out, that didn't help the Storm or him really. Yeah, he just 58. You know, I would like a bit more from him. But yeah, obviously he's a hold throughout the rest of the season for me. So yeah, hopefully can see a bit more from Pusey there, and then Burden as well. Adding to that, getting shifted to the centers was a bit annoying. He's back to 5'8" this week, which is good. We'll get to that. But yeah, I think Burden, yeah, we saw that shifted just did not work for the Dogs, having Galvin in the halves, and Burden needs to be at 6 for that side. It's just silly and that they would change a halves combo that was at the top of the comp, and you know Burden is been awesome. So been awesome for them and been a huge part of that. So yeah, him moving to center wasn't the play. They were up 18-0 and they needed halves to close out the game, and they failed to do that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
couldn't agree with you more there, mate. And for someone that is, well, as a Tigers fan, fuck Galvin, but it is so good to see the doggies struggling to fit him in. I am just loving it. They are ruining their own season for this. As you mentioned there, before Galvin moved, they were top of the table. Their spine was humming. They've now lost two of their four spine members in Marnie and Sexton, who are moving on now at the end of the year. You've seen on the weekend how they lost that game, which they should have never have lost. They also lost the week before, so that's now back-to-back losses for the doggies. Yeah, the whole Galvin experiment really isn't working at all at the Dogs at this point in time. So I don't know. I'm loving that as a Tigers fan. I was like happy to move him on. I said good riddance to the bloke, and yeah, it's look. I think the Doggies are a better side with him in there. It's just it's not working how they've just thrown him in. He hasn't worked for the jersey at all. He's just been gifted it, and I
Yeah,
think it's upset internally.
yeah, it definitely seems that way that it's caused a bit of chaos internally. But you know, there's no doubt that Galvin's a talented footy player. It's just you know, it's really hard to bring in a half mid-season and just expect them to mesh. So either you know, I'm not sure what Ciro does there with does he keep well, obviously it looks like he's reverted Galvin back to the bench, but you know, had they won that, it would have been interesting to see if he had persisted with that combination of Galvin and Sexton in the halves. But yeah, on the other side of it though, it is really hard to come into that halfback role, especially mid-season, and expect cohesion straight away. So, you know, that's it'll be interesting to see how things play out there. But hopefully, Burden stays in that six jumper because that's definitely where he's best and can sort of lift up some form. But I think that sort of takes us away or wraps that segment up. So we will head over to team list quickly. And then we'll touch on our top five most traded in and out, and then we'll go to our trades and skippers for the week individually. So we're going to do a really quick recap of team list this week. Just roll through it, give our tip, and then just get to stuff that people want to see really, because everyone can have a look at the team list, and we're at that point of the season where we want to sort of shorten the episodes and make it easier for people to catch. So first game on Thursday night is the Sharks and the Dolphins. So in this game, the Sharks minimal changes for them, and then for the Dolphins, you see Nicarima out unfortunately with an injury, and Sean O'Sullivan come into the sixth jersey. That's all the changes for this game. I think the Sharks will have this one, mate. So I'm going to tip the Sharks by 8.
Yeah, I agree there as well. I think the Sharkies, after a few, I think it's back-to-back losses for the Sharkies as well. they've had the bye now. I think they're going to come home really strong. They've got a soft draw. I think Atkinson, I don't know how it's all going to like work out with it, but I really do think the Sharkies are going to go on a bit of a run. They do have a soft draw coming up. And so for someone like a Hines, it'll be really interesting to see how he goes to someone compared to a Hughes. So yeah,
Mm.
I agree here. The Dolphins have been up, but I just think there's been too many injuries for the Dolphins now, and I think we might see a bit of a decline from the Dolphins, and I don't think we actually see them in the eight. So yeah, I agree with you for the Sharks in this. I have the Sharks by 14 in this game, mate.
Big one. Yeah. Move on to the next game.
We've got the Knights and the Storm.
So I'll let you take this one away, mate, if you want to do that, or I'm happy to do it as well. If you
Yeah,
up to you.
no,
We'll just
I
go
can
game for
jump in
game.
on this.
Yep.
Yeah, Fletcher. So for the Knights, Fletcher Hunt has been named at fullback. So he is replacing Ponga and Sharp, who I think are they both out for the season? I think they might both be out for the season, you know?
Sharp definitely is. Ponga comes back. I think recent word was that Ponga is a good chance to miss the rest of the season, but I think he might come back in the last round or two. But that's also being hopeful. So
Yeah, and not that we're going for cheapies anyway, but I don't know that a little bit of appeal, I suppose, then to Fletcher Hunt at pretty much bottom dollar price. And then the
hmm.
only other change for the Knights is Marzu has been named on the wing to replace Schiller. Then for the Storm, we see Pappy named and back, and Bradley has been dropped out of the squad. We also see Munster and Grant not named in this to back up. Of course, anything can happen, and it'll be a big. I think across the weekend this weekend there'll be a lot of changes with all the late mail, so definitely keep an eye on late mail this weekend, mate. But what are your thoughts in this game?
Yeah, not too much. Obviously, yeah, Munster and Grant, just for listeners out there, they are in the reserves, but I would not expect either of them to back up, honestly. Especially Munster. He's backed up the first two, and I think he will miss this one. Initial thoughts are Storm win this game comfortably, in my opinion. I'm going to tip Storm by 12. It's a day game, which their attack seems to roll on, and yeah, just the Knights. I don't think they've got the attacking spark. They've lost Ponga and Sharp, who are their attacking weapons. They might show up a bit deeper. Yeah, Storm for me by 12 in this one.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm going to agree with you there, mate. I'm going to go the Storm by 8 in this one. On to the
All right.
second game, we have the Dragons and the Roosters, mate.
Awesome. So for the Dragons, we see
Oh, are you there?
his name to back up. Sorry, yeah. Is the internet quite cutting out? Am I cutting out?
Yeah, I can. I'll take over here. Xavier will just try and sort out his internet at the moment. It's just a bit choppy, but we'll definitely still push
Hmm.
through this podcast. So, for the Dragons and the Roosters here, for the Dragons, we see Val named to back up, as well as Stewart and Leilua coming back into the squad. And then for the Roosters, we see the return from Sammy Walker. So he was very close to returning a couple weeks ago, and then he injured his thumb at training, so that kind of pushed it back. But the big talking point then with Sam Walker being back is Sandon has been dropped out of the squad completely. So he's not even in the 1 to 17. So a bit of a blow there maybe for owners, I suppose. The other positive news for owners would be Markey is named on the wing. So I think for any Markey owner, him on the wing is so much better than being in the centres. Just, I think he'll get way more ball and he's going to be on the back end of way more tries out there on the wing. And we also see all the Roosters origin players named to back up, as well as Billy Smith there. So in the Dragons v Roosters, mate, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, just checking. You hear me all right?
Yeah, that's all good
Awesome.
now.
Sweet, yeah. So I think the Roosters will win this one. Bit of a disappointing loss for them last week, but you can see Radley and Lenu provide them a little bit of go forward this week, or a lot of go forward, which they were sort of missing, and they've obviously got their other Origin players back in Watson and Crichton. So Roosters for me, I'm going to say by 8 points. Yeah, not too much else to touch on there. I think the Roosters comfortably win this, and Tedesco is a good captaincy option.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think this is the strongest Roosters side we've seen this year on paper. A lot of their sort of players are coming back, obviously on top of all that Origin and Sammy Walker and sort of things. So yeah, I think the Roosters do win this game, and I'll go same as you, Roosters by 8, mate.
I'll have a crack at this one, hey. Hopefully the internet's not too bad.
Yeah, sounds good.
So,
So
Cowboys vs Dogs on the Saturday night. You see all the Cowboys Origin players named to back up, and then you also see for the Dogs, as we touched on, Burden back at 5'8" and Galvin back on the bench. This one, I've got the Dogs winning by, I'm going to say by 8 points as well in this one. I think they'll bounce back from their two losses, which we touched on, and have a good game in this game, and hopefully Burden for myself plays a bit of a role in that.
yeah, I actually think the Cowboys might win this one. They've obviously haven't won probably for the past month or so, but I think the game
Oh,
on
they
the
won two
weekend.
weeks ago against the
Oh yeah,
Titans.
no, true against the
Yeah.
Titans. So I think the game on the weekend, even though they lost against the Storm, I still thought for the caliber of players that the Cowboys had, I thought they still played pretty well, and they were definitely in that
Yeah,
game. The
definitely.
Storm just had that classier edge. So bringing in all the Origin players back, I obviously the Dogs have been very good this year, but I'm just going to go for a bit of an upset here, and I just got a bit of a feeling that the Cowboys get up for this and win. So yeah, I'm going to go Cowboys by 4 and a close one at home.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
Moving on to our first game of Sunday. Hey, Waz
Our
tips, mate. That's
teams.
me v you.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Both
do the
suffering a
Waz?
lot of injuries. Yeah, I'll do the
Yes.
Wires. I'll let you do the Tigers. Obviously, um, Chance Nicole Clocksad is down as LCL. So I've heard of ACL, I've heard of MCL. First time hearing LCL. On this one, he's out for 3 to 4 weeks since he did the injury. Expected back round 21 or round 22-ish. So Tane Tuapiki will be at fullback. We also see, obviously, the unfortunate news of my Lord and Savior, Luke Metcalf, gone for the season with an ACL injury. So, yeah, that's devastating for us. And yeah, I had a glimmer of hope for us making the, going all the way this year, but I think that's been stripped now with obviously Metcalf gone. He was a big part of our run. Other than that, not too much else to touch on. Hellasima is back starting and Laban is on the bench. But yeah, that's all from the Warriors, man. I'll let you take it away with the Tigers.
Yeah, just before I do, who would you play at 7? I think it's a bit harsh on Tamari Martin, if I'm honest. I thought he did an excellent job last year. And just for context for the listeners, I also had him in Supercoach. And when Sean Johnson was out last year, he was the guy for the Wars.
Mm.
He's been killing it in Q Cup this year as well. I think he's played 6 games and 18 try assists or whatever. So I honestly I was a bit surprised, if I'm honest, to see Tanner Boyd take over the 7. But I'd be interested
Mm.
to hear your thoughts as a Wars fan. Who would you have gone with?
Yeah, look, I haven't watched any of the reserve grade footy, but I know that Tanner Boyd is, I think, third or second top point scorer in the comp. So that indicates to me that he's having a pretty good season. Obviously, Tamade is as well, but Tanner's just a bit younger, which I think is giving him that edge over the jersey to back up. And obviously, we brought him over for that exact reason too. So I haven't really seen Tanner Boyd play in a while, so I can't comment, but if we were going basically taking it on what we saw from Tomato Martin last year and what we last saw of Tanner Boyd, I would go Tomato Martin. But it seems like Tanner Boyd has made some improvements to get that jersey. If not, Webster wouldn't have picked him. He's also a goal kicker, which is something that we lose in Metcalf as well. So quite a good kicker of the ball. Um, Probably a better kicker than Tomato Martin anyway. So maybe that's what we're going for. But younger, probably a better kicking game than Tomato. But no doubt, last I saw of either of these two play, Tomato was the better creator for points. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I back Webster to have made a good call here, though.
Yeah, just interesting, really, just because Tamari Martin really did kill it last year. And I just think it's a bit harsh on him. He's the only one who's been playing 14 for the Wilders pretty much throughout the whole season, which is why he's hardly played any Q Cup. So, yeah, well, we'll see what Webster's doing. I'm sure he's got a method to the madness there. But yeah, I think it's a bit stiff on Tamari Martin personally. But for the Tigers, mate, we see Jerome Luai return and were named to back up from Origin. So that'll obviously be a game day call. But we saw last Origin that him back up off a 2 day. I think they played Origin Wednesday and he played Friday night against the
Yeah.
Raiders. So I think he'll definitely be playing in this one. And we also see Appy returning from that HIA. So a bit of a stronger side. We're still missing like a few of our key players, but yeah, not too much movement all in all there, mate. So who are you thinking here?
I'm back in the wires, but you question our halves. I'm going to question yours, mate. With the Tigers getting a good win on the weekend, Dewey and Latu Fainu look really good. And especially, that I don't know, like obviously Luai is the marquee man on the side, but they seem really good. They combine really well. Latu looked awesome on the left edge with his brother, and Dewey's been killing it in the halves, in my opinion, lately. So, have you got any thoughts there? Dewey, for me, is a better half than he is a center. So, um, yeah, I quite like that combination, but obviously we're probably not going to see any more of that this year.
Yeah, I think you're right in that. And honestly, I'm so big on Lai Tufanu. And even when the whole Galvin sort of situation was evolving, I was like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. We got Finu. And not only one of them, we got three of them. And we saw all three of them score on the weekend. So yeah, mate, I am massive on Finu being sort of the seven long term. And look, I think Dewey has been he's had some mixed performances in the halves this year, right? Like I can't
Yeah.
remember. I think it was his second, not last weekend, but his must have been the last game before last weekend, where he played in the halves, and the Tigers got whacked, and he had a really bad game. So he
No,
obviously,
that wasn't that game. He had a really good game. If anything, it was a shining light, I reckon. It was early in the season where something happened and I was an owner of Dewey and I was like licking my lips going, yeah, Dewey in the halves. And then he had absolute shocker in that
mm,
game. I can't remember which game that was, but the last 2 weeks he's probably been one of, if not your best player in the halves, in
yeah,
my
yeah,
opinion.
definitely no doubt he's playing well, but I honestly think long term, Dewey's being phased out of the Tigers. I don't really see too much of a future. And I'm just waiting for May to make his appearance now. So he's obviously biding his time, unlike Galvin. He's biding in time in Q Cup. Obviously, very different circumstances between Lockie Galvin and May. This is May, Terrell May's brother, and so. Yeah, I'm really big on him and Star. Star is an absolute
Awesome.
star. He is a weapon. I'm actually surprised, honestly, to see him named. He looked like he was
Injured.
all sorts of broken last weekend, but
Yeah.
tape him back up and send him back out. So yeah, I'm going to tip the Tigers in this after the good week last weekend. But look, I think it'll be a cracker over in New Zealand. So I think the Warriors will probably win, but I'll be back in the Tigs in for sure in this, mate. So should be a good way to kick off the Sunday, hey?
Yeah. I'll back in the Warriors and I'll also throw this at you. Warriors, 10 pack of CCs, you in or not? Warriors, Tigers.
Nah, I think the Wires are the better team. But I'll still tip my Tigers, but I've lost too many CC
Yeah.
cases this year with bad bets,
I
so
was looking to get a
I
stab.
won't
Fair
be
enough.
taking that 10 pack there,
Fair
mate.
enough, mate. Fair enough.
Moving on to the Eels versus the Panthers. Do you want to do this one?
I'll let you do this one. I'll do the last one.
All right. So for the Eels, we see Lomax name to back up. And we also see another fellow Tiger in De Silva making his club debut off the bench. So who got the nine? So Lussick keeps the starting jersey, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see really what the Eels do in that nine position because I know they've re-signed Riley Smith recently. They've just signed Talon De Silva on pretty good money. Joey Lussick can probably go, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. How do you reckon it'll sort of work out there?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Obviously, Riley Smith's on suspension still this week, so that's why he's not there. I think Talon De Silva will be. It looks like they've signed him for a reason that he will be phased into the starting side. I just don't know if it's this year, but I expect, in my opinion, Lussick to drop out and Riley Smith to come back into the nine, and then Talon on the bench at least for this year, and then I reckon they'll be dueling for the spot next year in the off season.
Yeah, good take there, mate. Could very well be that. And then for the Panthers, the only real team news here is that all Origin players have been named in the reserves. So we obviously see all of them got rested round 15 after Origin 2. So they all played Origin 1. They all backed up from Origin 1, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and then they all missed Origin 2 back
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
so it'll be over to sort of Ivan and I suppose how they back up really on if they play or not. So this is a bit annoying, I suppose, for maybe owners of Panthers Origin players like yourselves and even potentially non-owners. Like, because it's the second last game of the week, you can't really,
Make a
you're kind
move.
of, yeah, you're kind of stuck here because you're not going to find out. Do you reckon, hopefully, we get news in the 24-hour cuts, honestly?
Yeah, I think Yeo. If I was to guess, I would say To'o would be most at danger of missing out with his niggling injury,
Mm.
and also the fact he's on the wing. So Jenkins and Alamotti can fill in there quite competently for them. So I think To'o will be the main risk. The other guys, I'm not too sure, and obviously Cleary's carrying the niggle, but as well. So I'm as an owner of and a holder of Cleary. There's not too many of us. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping he backs up, but I'm not too sure. It really will depend on how Wednesday night goes. I feel like.
Couldn't agree more there, mate. In this game, though, regardless, oh, geez, if the Panthers Origin players don't back up, do I actually like the Eels?
Yeah, well, they've got Moses coming back as well next week. So who knows? The Eels could go on a bit of run. Think I still will back the Panthers. I said it a couple of weeks ago when I tipped them to beat the Dogs, and then I tipped them the week before. I really think they're going to storm home in this part of the season, and I reckon they come into their own. So Panthers for me. I'm going to say Panthers by. Let's say 10 in this one. If their Origin players come back, I reckon it's going to be Panthers by 22. I reckon it'll be a slaughtering.
Yeah, I agree. If the Panthers Origin players back up, I'll definitely be tipping Panthers in this. But if they don't back up and if the teams run out how it is like this, I'm going to be tipping the Eels because, yeah, I think the Eels have been, they've slowly been steadily improving. And I think in the last couple of weeks, even without Moses, they've been playing pretty good footy. So, yeah, I'm going to back the Eels in that one, mate. Now for the final game of the round, the Titans and the Broncos, mate.
Not often you see the Broncos play on a Sunday on the last game. So, yeah, in this one, there's actually quite a bit going on. So you've got for the Titans, I've obviously named Tino to back up in the 13 and the starting jumper, which is good news for us owners. And then obviously Jaden Campbell is back from his injury. You see AJ Brimson hold the fullback spot and De Groot actually on the wing this time round. So, and then perhaps the biggest news of all is David Fafita back finally. As I said, I've
Oh,
got him in the
huge.
draft. Got him in the draft, and I've been waiting for him to play. Obviously named on the bench, which isn't ideal, but it's just good to see him back. Can't wait to see him play, especially against his old club. So yeah, awesome. Always awesome seeing Fafita play. For the Broncos, you see that Shibasaki, Haas, and Carrigan all named to back up. Thank you, Madge Maguire, for pushing Haas to his limits. As both of us holding, I was really concerned about him missing this game. But yeah, hopefully he comes out of Origin unscathed and he plays in this one, especially with his lingering injury. You also see Ben Hunt's back, which is huge, and he's been named at hooker. So that is massive. I think that Broncos side looks so strong on paper.
Look at that
Yeah, gee,
spine.
yeah, it looks insane like that. I reckon they're going to make a real good run for it. In the back end, and I reckon they're going to torch the Titans, unfortunately. So I'm going to say Broncos by 16.
Yeah, I agree with all your sentiments there. Even I'll say Broncos by 18. I think they should win convincingly. Hopefully, as well for Payne Haas, he does play decent minutes, but it's come to everyone's knowledge now that this back injury that Payne is playing with is he's going to have to manage it throughout the season. So it's not really an injury that's going to go away. It's going to definitely linger around this season, and then in the off season he'll get sort of surgery or whatever he sort of needs to fix up the back. So he'll be managing it. Hopefully we get no flare ups or anything on the way home. And I know the Broncos have the bye next week, is it?
Yeah, they do. So it's a bit of
That is
confidence.
why
Yeah, but
hopefully they don't rest him, because it does
mm,
make sense to give Payne a little 2.5 week break. But hopefully for us super coaches and even for Broncos fans, I mean, I still think the Broncos would win without him, honestly. But yeah, look, I agree. I think the Broncos win this in this game.
yeah, and just having a look at their bench too. Um, if Haas does play, I'm expecting big minutes with that bench there. So
Mm.
um, obviously it's the
Two
last game as
hookers.
well, so it gives him a bit of us a bit more confidence in him backing up. He's got 4 days to recover. I think that wraps up TLT, mate. We smashed through that, so we'll go through our teams, trades, and skippers, and then that will wrap us up.
That's it. Yeah, should we just sack off the top five?
Yeah, let's just sack it off. Let's just do it.
Beauty. All right. So maybe you might be best to start with trades and skippers, because I haven't, honestly, listeners, I've
I'll
only
let you have a
just got
tinkle.
in and I
Yeah,
haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So I'll get some insight from Sol and get some inspiration perhaps, and then we'll get into my trades after his.
easy, mate. So this week I'm running actually really thin, and I think a lot of people are going to be in the same sort of boat. So I'll quickly share my screen. Um, there you go. You can see that all right.
Yeah, we can see that.
So this week my changes into the side are Sandon to Watson. And then I'm actually doing a bit of a pod play here. You touched on the Sharks' good run. And I think Ronaldo at 430k, 440k, he's got a huge BE at I think 101. But I'm really keen on this move. So Sandon to Watson and Hubner up to Ronaldo. I like it because Sandon to Watson is a huge lock for me. That's not changing. And I like this move. As you can see, I had 271k in the bank, and I've got 56k now after this. I like this move because I want to get a center winger in, so I can shift Lucas up and have the duel with Lucas and Bradley. It also sets
Mm.
my side up really well with depth too. So I've got 6 trades after that, but I think I'll be all right because how the side's set up. I get Riley Smith back next week to cover hooker if needed. Obviously, if Watson did get injured, I'd probably look to trade him, but if it's a 1 week, then I'm fine to plug Smith in there. I've got Tarpany in there to cover May and Haas. My second row looks pretty good with Lucas, Ali Katoa, Nakora, Kaloa Matangi, and Tino all there. I've got Hughes and Cleary, Burden and Munster. Very happy with that. And then in my centre wings, I've got Herbie, Karaz, Garrick, and Lomax, who are sort of the staples, and then Tupou and Mulatalo, who will be my pods. And I like Ronaldo's run, and I think I'll definitely play him this week. And then I'll play him on matchup. He's one of those guys that I think because of now, obviously this year you've got 18 players with your worst player dropping out. I think you can take a bit of a punt on guys like Ronaldo who have really low base and can go like score 20 points in a game, but have quite a bit of upside. So he can easily ton up, and I think he's going to score a couple of tries in this run. So that's why I'm leaning towards making that move. It sets my team up nicely, and I like having Ronaldo there. So if the Sharks have a good matchup and they start to fire, which we touched on, I've got a bit of cover as a non-Hines owner. It's the same as because if Hines pops off and the Sharks have a good matchup and they all pop off, I would expect Ronaldo to score 1 or 2 tries in that game as probably their most prolific try scorer. So I really like that play. And this is obviously my fullbacks stay the same. So obviously this is a lineup. I'm obviously this week I have exactly 17 players, and that's not including Cleary or Munster, who I'm not sure if they back up. I'm hoping Cleary does to be my 18th man. And if that is the case, I probably will set up more like this. So Cleary's in the starting side. I probably will VC Tedesco or Pappenhausen, and then I'm going to go for a huge pod play if Cleary plays, and I'm going to captain Cleary when no one else think he's 13% owned in the top 1%, and people that don't have him won't really be looking to him now that he's in the extended. So I will be looking to captain Cleary, and a huge pod play this week. That's how I sort of line up. Tupou against the Dragons, I like. Ronaldo playing this week. Yeah, I quite like those pod centre wings, and hopefully they can pay a bit of reward. And the side looks good coming into the round. Obviously, I'm really happy to have Watson sort of set and forget Watson, and then I'll have 6 trades for the run home to sort of trade out injuries. But I also have the cover there as well with Garrick, Munster, Kalomatangi, Tarpany, all these guys who I'm not playing. So I'll just rotate basically, and see how we go. All the duels look good, so that will be me, mates. Captaincies, obviously, I touched on Cleary, but it will be between Cleary, Pappenhausen, and Tedesco. 2 of the 3 will have an armband, and I get a free crack at the loop as well this week. So that's me. I'm pretty set on those trades, and I'm pretty set on bringing in Ronaldo. What do you think, mate?
Honestly, this is the first I've heard of Ronaldo in Supercoach and being brought in probably months. I haven't heard it, but I like it. I like especially for someone like with your team and without Hines. Not only do you get some Sharks coverage, but then that also enables you to then flick Bradley and Lucas, which just increases that depth. So I actually do like that, and I can't knock the other one, your hooker, for
Yeah,
Sandon,
stand
Connor
into
Watson.
Watson.
Like, massive fan of Connor Watson. The bloke's a gun. So yeah, I really can't knock either of those trades really. So yeah, mate, they look good. Hopefully everyone plays this weekend and you can run out a full squad.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Either Cleary or Munster need a backup for me. And then hopefully Tino and Haas don't get injured. But yeah, and same as Lomax too. But should be good. Yeah, look forward to having that. And Ronaldo is one of my boys. I seem to go him every year. And 430k sort of
Gee,
can't
Price.
really. Yeah,
He must that he's what that 300k down or something. What did he
yeah,
start at?
and 600. We've seen him at 700k before. He's one of those players
Yes.
that fluctuates, and if the Sharks are to go on a run, he surely gets a couple of tries. So I'm quite big on that move and sets the side up nicely. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
like
me
that. And
done.
it's a bit of a pod play as well, mate. So yeah, you get the green tick from Jay there. Moving over to my side, and geez, after listening to what you're thinking and like your sort of trades, yeah, geez, I'm not really quite sure what I want to do this week. I am interested in Cleary. I will get him back at some point, but probably not this. I'm not sure on my trades. I'm interested in possibly getting Cleary. Oh, actually. What I definitely probably will be doing is I'll be selling Sandon Smith. I'm pretty certain. Either him or Tarpany. I think it will probably be Smith, and then I will be going down to Going, K. Dot Going. Where is the big fella? From low to high, just to sort of free up some cash. K going. So that gives me 344k in the bank. So I think it's like 9k short of doing Cleary, which is a little bit unfortunate there because LKT had an absolute stinker on the weekend. So yeah, 9k short there. Ideally, that's probably what I would have done, but I can't quite afford that. So yeah, not sure what I'm gonna be trading this week. I'm not interested, so I would definitely be selling Sandon and going down to free up cash because I already got Blake Brayley, sorry, and he's going to be my hooker that I'm going to run home with. We've seen him in the past sort of month or so really running the ball, and I think it's had a massive, really positive impact for the Sharks and for obviously his Supercoach scoring. So I reckon the coach will be into him about the running game over the past sort of couple week break. And so I anticipate we just see that hopefully for the run home. So yeah, I will definitely be going Sandon down. It's just if I do it this week or not. The other sort of option I was tinkering with is selling Tarpany. Just because he's just been so disappointing this year. And I think his minutes are going to get managed on the way home, and especially how good the Raiders are doing this year. He just doesn't. We saw it on the weekend. Anything happens to him, and he'll just get wrapped in cotton wool. And Ricky has that luxury. The Raiders are leading their title race this year, and I really do think they're going to win the minor. So I think we're going to see on the run home, Tarpany get his minutes managed big time. And I know conversely, in previous years, we sort of see Tarpany come home really strong. It's going to be the opposite this year. He started off really, really well and he had those big minutes game and he was offloading and everything. And it's now kind of the reverse. He's kind of going to finish slow and he's hardly getting minutes. And it's just very frustrating as an owner. And
Mm.
I'm very much considering moving him on. So yeah, if I would to move him on, it's the same thing. I'm still going. So I'd shift either Tino or White or Simpkin up to front row. And then I would be bringing in going as well. Where is the big fella? Because then that would enable me to then sell, say, I want to sell Sandon next week. I could then sell Sandon, move going up to hooker, and then move Lucas up to second row, and then look at bringing in a center wing there. But I've also got Nick Meaney, who I will probably end up moving on in 3 weeks when he's 600K or whatever he ends up being. But who knows how that plays out either. So yeah, not entirely sure what I'm doing with trades, mate, if I'm honest. Anything glaring that sticks out to you, sort of that off the bat?
Yeah, definitely. I think King Tonga has to go. And it's either you've got to make a choice on Ethan Strange as well, because he's tying up cash and he's not playing this week. So if you're happy to hold those, I would be happy to hold those trades, but you obviously need funds. I would be more inclined to sell Strange over Tarpany if I'm honest, mate.
And I
He's
can do Strange to Cleary by switching LKT down and bringing in something like that. And then to
yeah.
fund it, if it cost bugger all, I could almost upgrade somewhere else. Any
Mm.
who are the popular buys? Ezra, Connor Watson. We may as well quickly look at it.
Well, you know what I don't mind actually, mate, as a bit of a pod for you, with King Tonga. I wouldn't mind. This is really far-fetched, but going King Tonga to Tanner Boyd. If you have a look at the Warriors run,
They
he's
do
goal
have the
kicking
soft run.
and he's goal kicking. I wouldn't mind those trades, and you don't have to play him every week, but
Oh,
yeah, like
I can
I
just afford it.
obviously that depends on if Cleary is named to play, but I think that looks pretty good. It sets your halves up. You'll be happy to just hold Munster. You know you get Boyd for the year. Um, you're not losing Tarpany, who I think's a gun, and that's pretty well set in my opinion. But obviously it depends on Cleary and if he comes back or not. So I don't mind that. Yeah,
That's
that'll
going to
be a
be
huge pot.
annoying. We're not going to know that news until after Tanner's and LKT's played.
Mm,
I do like that though. Just looking at that, that does look good. So definitely something I got to think about. I had been thinking of the thought of Strange to Cleary. I was more happy just to hold LKT this week and maybe move on to JC in a couple, but yeah, interesting to see with funds. That also leaves me with 4 trades. So
and yeah, you've got 4 trades with Karapani and Meany who you probably want to cash out soon as well. Like, but you might have to hold one of them.
yeah, I think I'll be happy to hold Karapani. I've seen enough. As you mentioned, the Broncos' spine looks fucking nuts now. And if they go left, Karapani is going to be the one that scores those tries. And the Broncos, I think they do come home strong with like you, mate. So I think he can very well be a keeper. It'll be Nick Meaney. See how he goes. Because he's going to make a bunch of cash. So yeah,
Mm,
interesting, mate. Interesting. I'll lock it in for now, hey?
yeah.
But Strange and LKT to Cleary and Tanner Boyd. Because what would be a killer if Cleary didn't play this week and then Tanner Boyd got dropped for Tamari Martin. I would so go Tamari Martin, if he was if
Yeah.
he was the guy. But unfortunately he's not. So if I was to do those trades, this is how I'd line up this week. How am I going for numbers? Not too bad. So
It's like
actually,
yeah.
well, it depends if Cleary and Munster play then. But I will have 18. If Munster and Cleary play, I'll have 20. So that's probably too many.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts here, listeners, and obviously it will all change tomorrow night because we have Origin. So I think that ties us well into sort of wrapping up the potty and sort of Origin predictions, thoughts, and yeah, mate. So what are you thinking tomorrow night?
I think Queensland will definitely be up for it with the passing of Cam Munster's father, but I've got to back New South Wales in Sydney. So I think New South Wales, I'm going to say by 6 points.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a really super close game, but I think that, as you mentioned, with Munster leaving Cam with his father unfortunately passing, and I believe Mum. It was funny. She just yelled out before we started the podcast that Munster, he's back in Origin. What a man! What a man! So he's back in camp tonight. So look, I think that's going to be massive for the Maroons, and I think every single individual, apart from Cameron, will be up for him, and even Munster will be up for his old man. He'll want to
Yeah.
he'll want to get the dub for him. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we see a Queensland victory, which would be one of the bigger upsets and bigger victories we've seen in modern times. Just because New South Wales team is so much better on paper, but obviously NRL isn't played on paper and it's played on grass, and that's why we super coach, isn't it, mate?
That's it, mate. I like that saying.
That's good. Anywho, I think that wraps this podcast up well. So thanks for
uh,
listening, guys. Oh,
one,
hang on.
one
I've
more
jumped the
thing.
gun.
Play the series tip, mate, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm going to say, geez, I'm going to say
It's one guy.
Payne
See
Haas
ya,
again,
mate.
say.
Cameron Munster for sure.
Play the series for you. Use your tip.
Well, he won at game 2, man of the match. So if Queensland win tomorrow night, it'll be
It'll
because
be
of
him.
him. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's his series then for
I think
sure.
Haas got game 1, so
Oh yeah. So if the Blues win, yeah, who do we reckon would get it?
tough one. It's hard to go past Haas, I think, but if I was going to go bold, I'm going to say Cleary has a good game and Cleary gets it.
Hmm. If the Blues do get it, yeah, I actually think you can't go past Haas. Like
Yeah, it's
he's
too
so
tough, isn't it?
good. He's just a freak, man. Absolute freak of nature. So I'll back Haas in if the Blues win, but if Queensland hopefully win, it'll be Cammy Munster. He's that guy. He is him with the captaincy band now as well. So yeah, that's my tip for that.
Easy. Like it, mate. We'll wrap it up. Yeah. Thanks again, listeners, for joining the show. And yeah, all best of luck this weekend. And yeah, go to Blues, mate.
That's it. Yeah. Let us know in the comments, lads, what your tips are, what's your prediction, and what your man of the series prediction is. And we'll come back to it next week, see how the listeners went. And yeah, go the Maroons, hey. But yeah, good luck to all you listeners this weekend. Hopefully you all see green arrows, and we're on the run home now. So after this week, no more buys. It's pretty much 8 games of footy back to normal every weekend, which I know as a footy fan, I'm going to be very happy with Thursday to Sunday with the footy there, mate. So yeah, happy
Awesome.
with that and happy to bring it home strong, hey. So yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully you do well as well this weekend, mate.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Yeah. Best of luck, everyone. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Cheers.
That's it. Cheers, guys.